Here's a little test video of the Mark II that I got here. Each instrument's tested before I ship it out, and also I figured this would be a little opportunity to just maybe show some of the things on it. I'll try to keep talking to a minimum. Nobody wants to hear me talking. So first, let's hear the oscillator 1. 2 oscillators. This is the first one. Coarse tuning, fine tuning, square wave width adjustment, triangle wave, no more adjustment of course on a triangle wave. The frequency can be modulated through your LFO. High range, low range. You got your triangle wave, your square wave, ramp down, ramp up, triangle. You can also modulate it with the sample and hold. Now to do that, it's a little bit more. You gotta feed your sample and hold with an input signal. I like the noise because it's pretty random and I like the sound of it. Actually, let's yeah, we'll just take that from here. Increase our sample rate. Your input level, you can decrease it. It doesn't affect the frequency as much. Add more to it. You can also use glide on the sample and hold. So that's the sample and hold. You can also modulate with your envelope generator 1. And these also have a short and long adjustment. Trigger is just hitting the button and it triggers at once. A gate will hold it open as long as you hold the button. And the envelope generator also has your output on it, so you can use this to modulate other devices you may have, 1 volt per octave. The envelope generators can be triggered from keyboard gate, which is right over here. Move the camera back a little bit, see this better. This is your keyboard control voltage, and this is your keyboard gate. I actually have this hooked up to my 16-step sequencer, which we might as well plug in now and hear it modulate it. Now what you're hearing right now, I can turn off some of the gates on the sequencer, and you know those will obviously no longer trigger your generator. Turn them all back on. Stop that. Also, you can modulate your oscillators with your keyboard control voltage, which is coming right here. I'm not modulating it with a keyboard though, modulating it with a sequencer. And so we'll take our step over here, and now we're modulating it with our sequencer. And let's hit the go button. What else is really cool is you can modulate oscillator 1 from oscillator 2. We'll turn this up. It just adds to, gives you a little bit extra sonic potential, I guess you'd say. Then you also have a hard sync. It's cool to modulate this with like an LFO. That's your hard sync. Now you can also control your pulse width modulation on both oscillators with an input voltage. So let's take, fiddlesticks. Let me get the camera back down here. So let's take the output of the LFO and we're going to modulate the pulse width modulation. Gives you a nice thick sound. So remove it and you can hear it doesn't change unless you move this. Put our pulse width modulation back in. There's your nice fat sound. That's oscillator 1. All these functions work. Try it all out. So now let's go to oscillator 2. This is voltage control oscillator 2. Again, coarse frequency, fine frequency adjustment. Modulate it from your LFO. Your sample and hold. Let's see, let's get our input back here. So you can adjust it again, sample and hold, turn that off. This one can also be modulated from an envelope generator, but this one will get modulated from envelope generator 2. Here, this is 1, this is 2. And now what this is also doing, you're hearing it's automatically triggering. The reason is because I actually have the gate set to the repeat function here. And you can actually trigger these envelope generators from their own repeat adjustment, or you can trigger them from the sample and hold rate adjustment. And in the middle, just shuts it off. You don't trigger it from anything. And again, you got your keyboard control voltage. So if we turn our sequencer on again, you're gonna hear it modulate it. And then if you turn it off with the switch here, it removes the frequency adjustment, but of course you're still getting the gate triggering now. And then, well, let me continue with this here. Again, same as oscillator 1, you got triangle wave, square wave, that can also be modulated, pulse width from your LFO. It also has a linear CV input, which you can control the frequency with the voltage. And then it also has a sync input. The sync, you gotta have a pretty high frequency, so features on that oscillator. Then we have our white noise. Give us a nice little wind sound. You also have an external input. Plug a line level in. You can control the amount given it fed into the synth. Your external input basically is just giving you the ability to modify external sounds with the filter and whatever modulation sources you want to modulate this with. Let's turn oscillator 1 back on and show you the filter. This is the filter. You got a coarse cutoff. This is your fine cutoff, a little finer adjustment. And you got your resonance. Turn that down. Get a nice wet sound, sounds like a wet fart. And these also self-oscillate, so you can turn your oscillators right off, and now our filter can become its own oscillator by turning the resonance all the way up. Now essentially you have a sine wave, and this can actually be modulated with a control voltage input from another device. As you can see, what I had going on was I was using envelope generator 1 to modulate the filter. Turn that off. Now we solely just modify it with the control voltage. You can you can use your oscillator too. Get some pretty cool sounds out of it like that. I need to buy like a real tripod. I don't really have one, so I'm using something that's kind of something I wouldn't even want to show you on video I'm using. Anyways, another cool thing you can do is modulate your filter with your sample and hold. Let's get us our noise again for a random voltage input, and then the control voltage in will come from our output of the sample and hold. There. Now the sample and hold's controlling the frequency changes in the filter. Another cool thing, let's get rid of the self-oscillating. Bring in an oscillator here. And of course you can use a glide on that too. And that's how you can modulate the filter with the onboard sample and hold unit. And you can use this to control any 1 volt per octave device. Let's take this off. Now the filter can also be modulated like I showed earlier. With the oscillator, low frequency oscillator, or now it's going to be controlled with envelope generator 1. These things are fairly simple, but I haven't used them a whole lot recently, so I got to kind of think about what's going on here, because they're complex enough to where I'll forget it, I guess. Anyways, just manually triggering the envelope generator. This is your attack up here, and this is your decay, so you get a ramp down or ramp up, or both. Then you can adjust your output. This output does not affect this. This, you adjust the amount that the envelope generator affects it by this control here. This also has a bandpass filter on it. Gives you a little bit more of a nasally sound. And it can also be affected by the keyboard control voltage, so our sequencer's running. We'll use that to modulate this. And I'll stop my sequencer here and just adjust one step on it. See that over there? And then we can also change the oscillator with the voltage coming in off the sequencer. At the same time it's modulating the filter. Yeah, kind of cool. Let's turn it both. Now we can also, we also have a voltage controlled amplifier on here. Now what I'm doing on this one is actually turning up the amount that envelope generator 2 is going to affect it. So envelope generator 2 now, that's gate, that we can trigger. And that's set up for short, and we can go long too. And we can just this is the repeat rate for the onboard. I guess you could say that the envelope generator here has its own little LFO in it, and this just controls it right there. Then you can also adjust the amount that it affects the amplifier, and then you can also affect the amplifier with the with either voltage controlled oscillator 1 or the LFO. Do the LFO first. Do square wave. Also use voltage control oscillator 1 to affect this. I'll turn oscillator 1 off so you can just hear it affecting the amplifier. So as you can hear, just changing the modulation amount on the amplifier will affect the sound of it too. So. Makes it very square wave sounding. You can change your waveform on oscillator 1 too, it gives you a different sound. We'll go like a triangle, and you can go square, affects it a bit. Or we can also say our output. Makes it sound a little weird. 2 to affect it also, so that's to get a little idea of that. And I believe I went over every function on it. But that's a little test that I do on them before I send them out to make sure everything's working properly on it. And by the way, I only got 1 more of these units left. I'm probably not going to make any more of them. Why? They take a very long time to build. That's why. And I got other life endeavors I'm pursuing now. So I'm still going to keep building my instruments here and there, but just not to really any extent what I was doing. So I got 1 of these left, so I may or may not keep it, I don't know. '21 minutes, wow, what a